Jim.
Okay, getting into it, starting it off. I'm just gonna lead it off. Say, hey everybody, welcome back. Blah blah blah. You know the whole spiel, and then I'll hand it right over to you.
Yeah,
to get going on the Kobe stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into it a little bit more in my rant.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love talking college football. I love talking sports with you, man.
Yeah.
Today's a sad day.
All right.
Today's a bad day, and for anybody who doesn't know, I don't know why you're listening if you don't, but today we lost a legend. Today we lost one of the greatest of all time. It is January 26th, and today we lost Kobe Bryant. Arguably the GOAT. I mean, in my mind, Michael Jordan's always a GOAT, but Kobe's right there next to it. So, in honor of Kobe Bryant, before we get going on our stuff, I talked to Jim. We want to give 24 seconds of silence for Kobe Bryant as a number 24 of the Los Angeles Lakers. So, we're going to start it right now, and yeah.
Rest in peace.
Kobe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe, yeah. And like I said, I'll get into it in my rant. I know Jim likes basketball, but not as much as me, and I'm kind of the basketball guru, and I'm going to get into that later. But we get for everybody, sorry to start it off with
very somber. Starting off with a somber.
Yeah, we start off with that. But one thing that, we had our first show, we talked about the college football playoff.
Yep.
And then we kind of touched on it last week. But we've always told you guys that we are a college football show. For the most part. Primarily. Oh, yeah. So we're going to get back to our roots.
Yeah. We're probably not going to touch on it much more until we get going into the spring practices and spring games.
Yeah. We're going to get into we're going to get into the draft, which is kind of more my forte. And stuff, but we got baseball coming up and all sorts of stuff. But we thought this was a good time to kind of talk about our look back of the season and our thoughts of how it went. Which is, well, I don't know about you, but Jim, it was not how I thought it was going to go.
There was definitely some surprises. There was definitely definitely a lot of disappointments.
Yeah.
I was really shocked how much of a difference, talking about LSU. They came, I don't want to say they came out of nowhere because they were a 10-win team last year, but to see how much of an improvement they made.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the SEC.
In 1 year.
Well, so we'll start in the SEC, and we're going to kind of go conference by conference. But, we'll start at the big gun, the SEC. LSU in my mind, and we talked about it, and don't get me wrong, Joe Burrow had greatest season ever. Statistically.
I'm glad you didn't say arguably.
Yeah, no,
because
there's
no arguing.
There's no
at
arguing.
This point. The greatest season as a quarterback ever.
Statistically, he had the greatest season ever. And we've talked about it, and we'll kind of integrate you guys too. Like when we talk about, and we'll get into it probably in the summer a little bit when college football gets closer, but the greatest of all time. But Joe Burrow is not the greatest of all time.
No.
Greatest season of all time? No question.
Yeah.
Not arguable.
Yeah.
But the season, and that's where I'm getting at. The season before he had, I think it was 15 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, which is not exactly stellar. So,
no.
Nobody saw this coming. So, coming into the season with the SEC, we're all talking Georgia. We're all talking Bama. That's the way it rolls.
Yeah.
There was a couple questions about Florida, maybe.
Yeah, because they've been kind of on over the past couple years since, I can't think of his name, the old Mississippi State head coach, who's not the Florida's head coach.
Not Dan Mullen.
Yeah, it's Dan Mullen.
Is it Dan Mullen? Yeah, Dan Mullen.
Yeah, Dan Mullen. Yeah, since Dan Mullen's been in Florida, they've kind of been on an uptrend, and I think we talked about that last week, or not last week, but the week before, where they're close. They're not there yet, but they're close.
Well, so the funny thing is, Florida to me, and I don't know what it is about the SEC, but in my mind, Florida is the exact same as LSU, which is the exact same as Auburn, and it's get a goddamn quarterback.
Yeah.
Those teams
this year.
Well,
sorry,
but those teams have they're loaded. They have so many wide receivers, so many defensive backs, defensive line. They are freaking loaded. They never have anybody throwing the ball. LSU hasn't had a goddamn quarterback since what's the biggest bust in NFL history?
Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, Jamarcus Russell. Didn't do anything in the NFL, but goddamn, in college football, that dude was a superstar.
Yeah.
And they haven't had a quarterback since then. They finally got a quarterback that, not to toot your own horn and blow your own dick, Jim, but I'm telling you, this guy was recruited by Ohio State. Ohio State doesn't recruit pieces of shit. They recruit you guys are a blue blood. You recruit the best of the best. And this guy was recruited by Ohio State. Granted, he was out by Dwayne Haskins, which, first round draft pick, top 10 draft pick as an 18-year-old kid, which is understandable. But he was right behind that kid. And so finally LSU gets this quarterback that is blue blood type. And they have
salt of the earth.
They have arguably not even arguably, probably
that's
the best offense we've ever seen.
That's LSU's, to say that's LSU's best offense, that's obvious. That's for sure.
No question. This is the greatest team LSU has ever had. Now we're talking about, is this up there with the 95 Nebraska team? Is this up there with the 01 Miami team? Which, don't get me wrong, LSU is fantastic. The 01 Miami team was idiotic. The 95 Nebraska team, I really don't know if anybody could ever beat that team.
They were so about that. So the thing is, and here's my squirrel, and it's goes to show. I would probably argue that LSU is higher on that list because you look at 95. They were talking about Nebraska. I saw it on a thing. Nebraska revolutionized the strength and conditioning program. Before Nebraska started doing it, before they had a strength and conditioning coach, there wasn't a whole lot of teams that were doing it. They were still kind of doing the old school way of we're going to run wind sprints and do bear claws, right?
Well, so this is the big thing. You put 95 Nebraska against the 2019 LSU, which rules you playing against?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because the 95 rules were...
If we're doing 95 rules?
Oh, God. 95. Don't get me wrong. LSU is a good team, but back in the 90s, football was football.
There was no roughing the passer.
No, it was brutal. There was,
horse collar tackles were illegal.
You're welcome, Roy Williams. He started. But but no, I remember when I was a kid. I was born in '85 for all you bastards out there that want to call me old. So I was born in '85, but I remember in the mid '90s, I would order the VHS of the biggest hits.
I remember those.
Yeah, I remember watching those. And 95 Nebraska was on those. And the funny thing is, if you, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't have a thing to play the VHS, but if I did,
A VCR is what it's called, sir.
a VCR.
I was born in '83, so I know what that is.
Yeah, well, I was born in '85. Like, you're older than me, you fuck. But I'm pretty sure, like, if we showed a VCR recording of the biggest hits that they had,
Yeah.
to a ref nowadays,
They would be like,
say
we're calling that, we're calling that, we're calling that.
90% of it is a penalty.
I don't know about 90%. That's a big number, but
Well, because a bunch of those hits were fucking blindsides.
oh yeah, blindside hits. You're allowed crackback blocks. Whew.
Man, I remember, like, when I was in middle school, like, y'all that don't know me, I'm not a small kid. I'm about 6'3", 250 right now, but when I was young, I was still about 6'2", 200 pounds, as a 7th grader, which is a large fellow.
That's large for a 7th grader.
Yeah, I was large. And so, but the thing was, like, so we had a very good football team. And the big thing is, every week we had a thing called the Big Stick. And it was pretty much a yardstick, painted blue and white, because we were the Whittier Warriors. We were blue and white. And whoever had the biggest hit of the week got the big stick, got the yardstick. And I got it every week. And it was because we had, like, one of my best friends in the world. If you're listening, you're probably not because you're a dick. But Sparky Powell, he was our running back. And they, like, the big play we had, like, Sparky ran. Oh, shit.
Sparky is first name?
Yeah, well.
Or is that a nickname?
Well, it's a nickname. His name's Matthew.
Okay.
His name's Matthew. His name's Matthew
Freaking
Powell.
Southerners
We all
and
call
your
him
weird
Sparky.
names.
But I mean, this dude, to put it in perspective, I mean, he got a scholarship to play forward in soccer at West Virginia. To do that, you have to be able to run like a goddamn lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Like, Sparky is stupid fast. Even still to this day, he's a year younger than me, so he's 33. Sparky is still probably faster than 99% of you bastards out there. So what they always did is they ran a toss play to the right. I was wide receiver, lined up to the right. And then I, like you said, Jim, ran the crackback block.
Mm-hmm.
And I came in at 6'3", 200 pounds, and obliterated anybody in my way. Like,
Wedge.
Absolutely obliterated them.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I get, like, we're getting on a total squirrel now, but
This is a big squirrel.
we are, and we'll get into this later, but, like, this kind of my pussification of America, don't get me wrong, like, I get the helping players out, but it's goddamn football. Hit somebody, for the love of God.
Yeah. I obviously am not going to sit here and be like, you know what, I'm completely against this, hitting defenseless receivers, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, the rules are in place for a reason.
Right.
And I'm not against it. If it makes the game better and safer, then by all means, let's do it. But at the same time, some calls are just so ticky-tacky.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it was Joel Klatt. And shout out to Joel Klatt, for the love of God, have Boom and Buck on your podcast or something, for the love of God.
That'd be amazing. I
Yeah,
love
I know,
Joe
right?
Klatt.
But I think Joe Klatt said is like that
He's
we
great.
need to have. Oh yeah, he is fantastic. We need to have two different levels of targeting. We need to have targeting that you had the accidental lower your head, which happens.
Yeah.
And then you would need to have the obvious malicious coming at you. And and we talked about it a couple of episodes back, which is weird that we can say that now.
We're on episode 3.
I know. But like we talked about it, like, Buki for the University of Oklahoma, when we played LSU, we had, like, he literally lowered his head and went after the running back. He did not have the ball. It was and to me, that is malicious. I like Buki. Buki's a good dude. I've heard him do interviews, but at that moment, it was malicious. And that, you need to be tossed out. The what's your Ohio State boy?
Shaun Wade.
Yeah, that one, by the rule, it was, quote unquote, and I'm doing it in errors, targeting. But he went in for a football hit. That's a football play. There needs to be a difference between I'm maliciously trying to hit you, to hurt you, and I'm making a football play. The ball carrier happened to lower his head, and by the rule of the law, is it targeting? Yeah, but I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just playing football.
Yeah,
there needs to be.
He was wrapping him up. He was, he lowered to get down below his pad level.
Right. Yeah. There needs to be a difference between I'm trying to hurt you and I'm trying to play football.
Yeah, we said that the last time we were talking about it. Like we understand why the rule's in place.
Oh, 100%. I 100% understand it.
We know that. Oh, I forgot where I was going with that one. I just completely lost my train of thought.
Oh, you're an idiot.
We know why they're there. We know why we're there, but it's not perfect.
Right. No, it's not perfect, and we need to work on it. So, and we got into giant squirrel fells, and so we talked a little bit about the SEC. So I'm going to kind of move the show along, Jim. So we're gonna. Oh, by the way, we're gonna. You don't know yet, but I'm telling everybody. We're gonna keep the Big 10, the Big 12 to the end because that's me and Jim's bread and butter. Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about the SEC in there. Let's go to the ACC. What thoughts?
I didn't even give you my thoughts on the SEC.
Well, we talked about. we talked about freaking.
Well, we talked about.
We talked a little bit about Florida. We talked a little bit about Bama, Florida.
We did not bring up how LSU is not going to repeat next year.
Oh, not even
because
close.
Their coach,
they got gutted. Gutted.
Ross and I, we will go on record. We love Coach O. Coach O is the best interview in all of college football. You could come at us. We don't care. It's amazing.
I've said it many times to you in text messages. I will say Coach O is a national treasure.
I don't understand half the words he says, but it's fantastic. It's like he's gargling marbles and then a deep Southern accent followed by "Go Tigers," and I love it.
Well, my favorite thing that he ever did was the interview when they were doing drills behind him, and he stopped. Hey guys, I'm having an interview over here.
So
the
good.
Greatest thing ever.
So good.
The greatest thing ever.
And we love Coach O.
I
they got
love Coach O.
Gutted. Joe Brady, who they brought in as I think he was the co-offensive coordinator, but he was definitely the passing game coordinator.
He was passing game.
Yeah, and now he's gone. He's in Carolina. He's their new offensive coordinator. Dave Aranda, who was their defensive coordinator for a long time, he's gone. He's the head coach at Baylor now. I believe some of them, some other assistants, like wide receiver coach or something along those lines. I'd have to look into it a little bit more, but they got gutted when it came down. Oh, and then Joe Brady's going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft.
Well, not only Joe Brady, but they've lost, 8 underclassmen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're going to be. I went through their schedule.
By the way, Jim, keep talking, Bubba.
Yeah, I went through their schedule, and I want to say they're as good as an 8-win team, and that's with them beating Texas at home in Baton Rouge, which with what Texas is bringing back. But we're going to get into those Big 12 teams and everything like that. I think they're going to have a hard time. Basically, they got to play Alabama still, and Alabama showed even after losing Tua, could still score some points against an Auburn defense that was very good. Let's see. Auburn was very good on defense, maybe overrated just because of what Alabama did, but that's Alabama. Alabama could have done anything. Bo Nix, who is very good, could end up being great if he gets the proper coaching, the proper development. At 18 years old, came in and did pretty well.
By the way,
great, but pretty good.
I had to pee, and you held it together. I'm very happy.
Listen, man, I can talk. I ain't afraid.
I ain't scared.
You know this. I ain't scared of you. Oh, and then my last one was on Texas A&M. There were some people saying that Texas A&M was possibly the best 7-5 team in the country.
Texas A&M don't even get me started on A&M. A&M is absolute fucking trash. And if you're an A&M fan listening to me, because I like being the asshole, and I'm always the asshole, and Jimmy will admit to that.
Yeah.
You could suck my dick. You guys are terrible. You guys, 19 of the last 20 years, you've had 5 losses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the love of God, I'm an Oklahoma fan. Oklahoma State, which is our little bitch, and my wife is asleep, so I can say that. Oklahoma State, they don't even do that. Like, they win freaking, like... By the way, like, let's talk about this for a second. Like, I went to Squirrel on you for a little bit.
You get into Oklahoma State stuff?
Well, just kind of talking about best rivals we don't talk about.
Okay.
Well, not that we don't talk about, but just kind of like Michigan is Ohio State's rival. We get that.
Yeah.
Y'all are better. You always have been. You always will be. Well, I can't say you always will be, but
not always, but in the past like 20 years, yeah, for sure.
20 years? I'll go longer than that. Like, we've talked about how, like, yeah, people talk about, like, they're the all-time winning program. Yeah, cool, because they've played longer. I mean, Oklahoma's win percentage, granted, like, that's a kind of a, I don't like toot my own horn, but I'm going to toot my own horn that we're one of the biggest blue blood. Like, we've talked about it. First off, let's get serious real quick. The biggest blue bloods in college football. If you ain't what I'm about to say, then shut the fuck up. You're a football team and you're good. You ain't a blue blood. But if you ain't Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, USC, who else we throw in there, Jim? Do we put Notre Dame in there?
Michigan was in there.
Yeah, Michigan
and Notre Dame.
Yeah, Michigan and Notre Dame. If you ain't in that, then you're not a blue blood. You're a football team.
I cannot wait to hear what Ryan has to say that we don't have Penn State in there.
Well, and Penn State's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, are they a good football team? They are a good football team. They're good year in, year out. And that's why I put them in a level, like, they're in level 2.
Yeah, tier 2.
Yeah, they're there with Nebraska and Miami, Texas. But if Ryan wants to argue, by the way, Ryan, if you're listening to me, I'm going to give you a shout out. Fuck you. Anyways, like you're talking about teams like Oklahoma that has 8 national championships. Ohio State and you guys are what, 8, 9, somewhere around there?
I think we're at 7.
Yeah,
6. We're at 7.
Yeah, 7 national championships. Alabama that's got like fucking 12.
Like 12 or yeah.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Penn
Notre
State.
Dame. Notre Dame's at 12.
Yeah,
around there too.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, Penn State. You are a fantastic football team, and we're gonna get on this here in a second when we talk about surprises and disappointments. Penn State is my surprise of the season, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. That they better than I thought, but you're still you ain't blue blood. You ain't in our level.
Nah.
And I'm sorry. You're still a damn good program. I'm not saying that you're trash. You're a damn good
It's
program,
just-
but you ain't there yet.
it's one of those types of things where you say, yeah, we're blue blood, and let's say you argue that Penn State is a blue blood, but I kind of feel that's a tier that you just can't keep adding to, because unless let's say Penn State hauls off and they win the next 5 national championships,
Right.
Of course, then they're there, right? But is the likelihood of that happening? Probably not.
Well, right, and that's kind of like what we've talked about, and then again, oh God, we get into so many teasers of later on down the road. But kind of my thought on Hall of Fame of, just because you did something once doesn't mean you shit.
Yeah.
You do it for a long time. Okay, now you've got my attention.
Yeah, you've got
Oklahoma-
to, but you got to throw it in there too. Texas is not a blue blood.
Never.
We've talked about that multiple times.
Oh,
and it's not.
Trust me,
yeah.
I'm going to get into those
Yeah.
sons of bitches.
Yeah.
And, if you guys are surprised by me talking shit on Texas,
He gets close to the mic for effect.
suck
Say
a
it.
dick. No, I'm gonna get into Texas. But anyways,
I don't technically dislike Texas, but anyway. Yeah.
So okay, so we've got into it. So we talked a little bit about the SEC. We kind of we're kind of bounced around conferences that anybody can do it. But so we haven't talked about the ACC. And Clemson. Obviously, Clemson is the cream of the crop. It is. And by the way, again, I'm
Not
gonna
even
get
close.
I'm gonna get a little squirrel. And get a little home blood. But I will say, I do like what Georgia Tech's doing. By the way, I'm in my master's program at Georgia Tech. So, Wreckham Tech, to hell with Georgia.
His name is Boomer Homer Simpson.
No, but I mean, I really like what Georgia Tech's doing. They just got away from the triple option, so they're still sitting there with the players of the Georgia of the triple option. But I mean, they just had a top 30 draft class.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, recruiting class. Atlanta
At Georgia Tech, that's big.
and Atlanta is. Obviously there's California, Texas, and Florida when it comes to talent.
Yeah, Georgia's right there.
Atlanta, well, not so much Georgia, but the Atlanta area is up there. So Georgia Tech, I think, knows that they're not going to be superstars. Even a 3-star in Atlanta is a pretty goddamn good football player. And they did that. And so I think that they're building a good program. I think Florida State is
Yeah, they're an interesting one. They got a brand new head coach. They still recruit really well. They still recruit, and they got really good players. It's just really Taggart, man.
I mean, it's
so bad.
I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, it's like these ones that again think they're blue blood, but you're not. And kind of like going back to it of like when Oklahoma or Ohio State stumble. I mean, we reload, and here's and then teams like Florida State. Miami, Virginia Tech. You don't reload. You don't. You're I hate to say it, but you guys are trash. Like if I look at Florida State and Miami this year, looking at the Big 12 because that's kind of my forte. I think Oklahoma State beats both. Yeah, I think Baylor beats both. Yeah, I think Texas beats both. Yeah. I think Kansas State gives you a run for your money.
Yeah, Kansas State was pretty good this year.
Yeah, so like how good a football team are you really? Like if we're talking about solid football teams and reloading versus building a program.
Yeah, a lot of success, and I wonder because Miami in the '80s was just so dominant because they
in
had
the
Jimmy
early
Johnson.
2000s too.
Yeah. By the way, paying their players both times of those times.
We're not gonna talk about that.
I just did.
Well, but then we're gonna get into that. And we're gonna get into the fact of did they deserve it?
Did they deserve what?
Getting
We'll
paid.
get into it later. Oh yeah, that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah. So
I will say
yeah,
this, but yeah.
teams. Florida State had Bobby Bowden forever, and he won what? I don't know how many national championships he won.
One.
I know at least one.
One.
So Bobby Bowden, but was won consistently. And then won again
Which
when they brought in Jimbo Fisher, who's a very good coach.
Let's get first off, let's not kind of skip over something. Bobby Bowden, one of the best.
Yeah.
Like
He's great too.
yeah, he's fantastic. It's gonna be a tragedy when he it was very sad. I remember when the first time Florida State took the field without Bobby Bowden. I remember watching that game, and it wasn't it was sad, but I was like, God damn, like really?
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
It was
like,
weird.
Man, like Bobby Bowden's not there, and it was kind of the same going to the Big 12. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Lincoln Riley, but I mean Bobby Stipes was there for 20 years
18
almost.
years?
Yeah, it was 18 years, 19.
Yeah, something like that.
So when Bob Stoops wasn't on the sidelines, like that was weird, man.
Yeah.
And it's and it's kind of interesting. So we're gonna totally squirrel here.
I think that so I was thinking about starting to name our episodes instead of just doing episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. This one is just going to be Super Squirrel.
Oh yeah, this will be Super Squirrel. So let's get on to this. So anybody that wanted to get into a subject, you can kiss my ass. I'm literally taking the microphone off my stand, and I'm holding it in hand. Bob Stoops was at Oklahoma for, 17 years? 16 years, something like that.
Not quite 20 years, almost.
He's right there.
I think 99, 98, 99.
Right there. What was the last Ohio State coach that's done that? Like, Urban was there not long. I say not long. It's...
Who was there that long?
Yeah. I mean, so Urban was there for what?
7 years.
7 years. Tressel was there for 6, 7
Tressel
years.
was... No. Tressel was like 12, 13 years.
Okay. Well,
His first year was 2001.
okay. So
And he resigned 2000, or maybe it was 2000.
well, so now we're getting
Yeah, he was about 10, 11 years.
we're getting back into the it's kind of the point of this conversation is the Bob States of Oklahoma versus like the long running coaches and who we have and your thoughts on coaches going quickly.
It's difficult because when you've got Bob Stoops, who's the head coach of a blue blood program, like you said, and had success throughout his entire time there.
Yeah.
I think that's a statement. That's something to say, considering how quickly teams are willing to fire their head coaches nowadays.
Right.
And I don't think it was a sign of the times that OU held on to Bob Stoops. I think it's because Bob Stoops is one of the best coaches ever.
Yeah, I mean, he won a national championship in his second year, and then granted he didn't win another one, but he won about 70% of his years he won Big 12 championships. Like we've done it. Like and it was like the big thing with Bob Stoops was, again. We've said it multiple times, but if you don't know this, I don't know why you're listening to us. But OU in the 80s with Barry Switzer was ultimate. I don't know what to say. Like OU,
what do you mean?
How good OU was in the 80s. I
can't speak to that. You gotta. That's you.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we won a national championship in '85. We should have won it in '86, but we had OU with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were stupid good. Like that was when Brian Bosworth was there.
Yeah. It was back when they were still voting amongst the writers.
Right, and it was like OU was stupid good. And then the 90s came, and OU, for everybody that doesn't know, there were some hookers and some blow and some guns. And we didn't get the death penalty, but we probably should have. Yeah, it was pretty dirty.
Yeah.
I
find it funny when you hear people say like Ohio State. Ohio State had 5 players who got free tattoos for giving away memorabilia, and there were people calling for the death penalty.
Yeah, guys.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, you guys don't need the death penalty.
No.
I think OU, we were the closest. And no offense, again, going to Ryan, I honestly don't understand how Penn State didn't get it.
I think I know why. Because most of the people that were there were gone, but considering how severe it actually was, they got lucky.
Yeah.
I want to say I remember reading reports about how if they didn't accept the 4-year bowl ban, then they were going to get the death penalty.
Well, I mean, to me, it was...
For those who don't know, the death penalty is you are no longer allowed to participate in collegiate football.
Yeah, you're no longer allowed to, you're done. You're out.
Yeah.
To put it in perspective, anybody who doesn't know, there's only one program to get it, and it was SMU.
SMU.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's why. Because SMU had the 4 horsemen. They watched the goddamn 30 for 30.
It's fantastic. That's a good one.
Oh, by the way, okay. I know we have a lot of college football and all this shit. I'm going to squirrel like a motherfucker. Because Daddy's been drinking Daddy juice and Daddy wants to squirrel.
I would say that Kobe juice, that Kobe
shot.
Yeah,
Kobe, shoot it. By the way, so I don't know if you've watched it, Jim. What? But last night I watched Tito versus Chuck 30 for 30.
I have not watched that one. I have been wanting to watch that one.
It is absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. It is one of my favorite ones I've watched.
I started the Worm.
Oh, that one's a good one.
Yeah.
By the way, all you Worm sons of bitches, Oklahoma. Yeah, no, the Worm one's good, but I will tell you, the Chuck and Tito one, with the UFC minds that we have
Mm-hmm.
is super interesting. It's super interesting. Talking about these guys that are getting into this sport that nobody knows. They're the biggest superstars.
Oh yeah.
And then when they lose their belt and like their mindset afterwards, and they just lost it all, and what happens?
I would love to watch.
Oh,
that
it's super interesting. It's super super interesting. Anybody that's listening, I will advise you the ESPN 30 for 30. It's called Chuck vs. Tito. Highly recommend watching it. It's super awesome.
So are we off the ACC then?
No. Sorry. Okay, we got Squirrels. Okay, we go back. So the ACC we talk about. We are at 40 minutes, so we're okay. Here we go, Jim. You ready?
Yeah, we're gonna have to bust through because Big 12, Big 10 are.
Okay, so we're gonna go. Give me that Big 10 shit, dude. That's you.
Big 10.
Give me that Big 10.
So, obviously, considering how the season played out, Ohio State was clearly the class of the league.
Okay. Well, so
Right.
but before we get into it, did you expect that?
Did I expect Ohio State to win the Big 10?
Well, did you expect for you guys to be what you were?
I did not. So I expected. Yeah, I gotta say yes because I didn't expect Justin Fields to come in and do what Dwayne Haskins did because I knew Justin Fields, though a strong arm, was not gonna have as strong as an arm as Dwayne Haskins. But I also knew he was going to be able to run the ball a lot better, just because I did my homework and I've seen how he plays. I did not expect J.K. Dobbins and the offensive line to make that extra step to become as good as they were.
Okay.
My expectations for the team were Ohio State win the Big Ten championship and be playing for the national championship. So
that's what you
overall,
expected.
It's what I expected for the team. Now there are certain things about the Big Ten within it that I did not expect.
Let's hear that.
I knew Wisconsin was going to win the West, and I figured they were going to be the ones who Ohio State ended up playing. But my biggest surprise team of the Big Ten was Minnesota.
Yeah, so I give you that Minnesota.
Minnesota, I did not expect them to have as successful a season as they did. They were fantastic this year. And I remember going into that Penn State game, I was saying, well, yeah, Penn State's going to win because I think Minnesota's, and we talked about it, we think Minnesota's overrated because all the teams they played had losing records.
Right.
But they played hard, and it was in Minnesota, which does give them the advantage. But at the same time, they were able to move the ball on that Penn State defense. And the Penn State defense, I think we ultimately said, was a very good defense, not a stellar defense. They were a bend, not break, but they were still really good. And they were able to move the ball and score on Penn State like that, which to me was impressive, was very impressive. They were my biggest surprise team. I don't want to say of the year, but of definitely of the Big Ten, for sure.
Okay, so on the Big Ten, I'm going to have a little fun here. Biggest surprise, obviously, I'm going to go with you, Minnesota. Minnesota,
I didn't even expect them to necessarily have a winning record.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming. I'm going to say... God. Can I do... I'm going to do a double disappointment.
Okay.
And it's... The first one is surprise, disappointment. Surprise, I did not think Penn State would be what they were. I did not see that coming. And then they showed out, and then they disappointed. So they're kind of in that, welcome to not blue blood.
I think a lot of Penn State fans would end up agreeing with you. It's like they were playing so well, and then just kind of came up short.
So my biggest disappointment in the Big Ten is Ohio State.
Oh, I think I know why.
Going into the game versus Clemson, I mean, Jesus Christ! Like I said it many times. I thought Ohio State was the most solid team. They had a quarterback that could sling the ball. They had a quarterback that could run. They had J.K. Dobbins. They had a front seven on the defensive end that was just stupid.
Front four. Linebackers were a bit of linebackers were the weakest point of the defense.
They were, but the front four
for sure
help that.
Yeah.
And the reason I will say, I mean, I'm not saying that Ohio State was a shit football team, because Ohio State was absolutely fantastic. And the reason I say they are my disappointment is because all goddamn season I said that Ohio State is the most complete football team I have seen. And that's why I say that they were a disappointment, because I said that they were the most complete football team, and Clemson exposed them.
Well, yeah. That's hard to say. It's not hard to say.
Y'all, don't get me wrong. Y'all fucking dominated them in the first quarter. After the first quarter, Clemson demolished you. If you look at the stats from the second quarter to the fourth quarter, Clemson fucking,
like Ohio State couldn't really move the ball.
Clemson demolished you.
It was
first quarter,
third quarter.
The first quarter, y'all did well. You did what I thought you guys would do. And then second to fourth quarter, Clemson, I mean, they did, I know you hate them, but they did Clemson. I
hate Clemson.
They did Clemson. They are a fantastic football team. Yeah. Okay, so
Clemson should have lost.
We're getting into the deep. We're getting into the weeds.
I've talked about that one.
Okay, so
I can understand why you say that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use the term exposed because it was a close game. Ohio State could have scored and won that game.
The reason
but they didn't.
Reason I said expose is if it was close game in, game out, then yeah, y'all had a leg up. You had what, 17 points?
Going into the half.
Yeah, 17 points. You had 17 points.
It wasn't a 17-point lead. It was 17 points in the first half.
But still,
Clemson scored twice in the second quarter.
Right. I mean, that's what we're getting into. I mean, it's just and it was a thing that I forgot who I was listening to, but it's for y'all that don't know. You could be a good football team. You can put some points on the board. You can win some football games. When you get to the Final Four, when you fucking line up against Alabama, when you line up against Clemson and Ohio State and Oklahoma, it's a different game.
Yeah.
It is it's a different game.
Yeah, that's why I brought up the idea of LSU not even playing a perfect game, and that's why they were clearly the best team in the entire country.
Right. I mean, it is when there's A&M fans and Oklahoma State fans and all this shit. When you get to the best of the best, I mean, don't get me wrong. We've talked about it. Oklahoma, we were a pretty good football team. and we had a pretty good offense. But you get put against the best of the best, and it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
It's a different ball game. And yeah, I mean, shit, jeez. Oh my God. Okay, listen. All right, so we got squirrels. I'm looking at our schedule here. Now,
Yeah, we got to keep going.
all right, I'm gonna move. Like people that love listening to us talk about college football, I'm gonna move us around. So we talk about college football. Look, let's get in the big one. The Super Bowl coming up.
All right.
We got the Niners versus
The Chiefs.
What you think,
man? The Chiefs' offense, like you said, when they get rolling, they're going to be very hard to stop. And I'm very interested to see what they're going to do against San Francisco's. San Francisco's one of the top 2 defenses in the entire NFL.
Yeah,
So it's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to be able to move the ball. I do think they are going to be able to move the ball just because they are so good. They are not great at running. Their running game isn't fantastic.
The Chiefs or the Niners?
The Chiefs.
Yeah, no, the Chiefs.
I'm not going to say the Niners because that's all they did the last game.
I was about to say, I was like, woo. Yeah. No.
The Niners can definitely run the ball. Their offensive line is so good. So, actually, with that being said, I'll right into it. I think San Francisco is probably going to win.
Okay, I was about to say, let's get into this. You're going Niners.
I'm going Niners. Yeah, not necessarily a blowout. I'm not married to it. I don't focus too much on the NFL. I mean, I do pay attention, but I'm not deep into it. I'm not diving into the numbers. But my prediction, I say like San Francisco 31, Kansas City 28. Winning by 3 on a field goal.
So I'm gonna go complete opposite. I think Chiefs are gonna roll.
You think blow them out?
Oh yeah, I think by 25 plus points.
Listen here, Hiccup. I do need to remind you. You said last week that I, for some reason, just can't believe in San Francisco, but they keep winning.
Right. I mean, and I will admit to that, but I am a Big 12 boy.
Yeah.
And
you love you some Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I mean, it's just kind of like show me
really
where
good.
I've been wrong. Joe
do you mean?
Burrow came in, fucking rolled. Freaking Patrick Mahomes comes in. The only reason Patrick Mahomes was not in the Super Bowl last year was because he got hurt.
Yeah. He was injured. I do not remember that.
Yeah, I mean, like, this dude is a superstar. And
Oh, yeah.
I do, like, by the way, I don't think that, like, the NFL game is different than the college game. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to talk Super Bowl, give me the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs, and I'll tell you, give me the Chiefs by 14 plus. I think they roll. I really think they roll. I think turnovers happen. I think the running game gets stuffed. You stuff the Niners running game, they're fucked.
I completely agree with that one. I do agree with that one. I don't know. I don't know if Kansas City is equipped to do it, though. That's the thing. Because you look and see what they did again. What was it? They played Tennessee.
Yeah.
No, they didn't play Tennessee. No,
the Chiefs played Tennessee.
No, not Chiefs. The Niners. Who did they beat last week?
Oh, they played the Packers.
Packers. Okay, well, never mind then, because they didn't have they had a better defense, but not like their defense they had in 2010. But
all right, hey Jim.
yeah.
So, hey, everybody that loves listening to us bullshit. I'm gonna tell you.
There's a lot of it this week.
Yeah, no, we random, but we are at the time right now calling what I like to call "shut up and listen." And we are at 55 minutes. So, I want to open the door for you to give your 2 cents.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm not stepping on your feet with this one.
No,
but
go for it, bro.
we don't. Yeah, we don't share these going into it.
No. This is, by the way, anybody that doesn't know, this is completely the most open thing we do.
Yeah. So, I wanted to go into it with before what happened this morning with the unfortunate passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter. By the way, I don't think we expressed that one. That's an absolute tragedy. Before 100%. That, the big, you had, it was a busy week again. You had the Senior Bowl was last weekend. You got leading up into the combine. You've got the Pro Bowl, which sucks. And we were going to touch on that, but we kind of ran over. But the other big story rallying around football and the NFL was Antonio Brown. And for those of you who don't know, Antonio Brown was recently arrested. Well, he turned himself in, but there was a federal arrest warrant out for, I believe it was battery, assault, and burglary, like federal burglary charges. He turned himself in, went to court, was in the courtroom wearing an anti-suicide smock. And thank goodness for this judge, by the way. I got to give this judge, I don't know her name, gigantic props to her. She put him on drug and alcohol screening and a psych eval, because that guy needs a psych eval. I was one of the people early on when he started doing all of his crap that he was doing in Oakland. I was not on board with people saying, obviously it's CTE after the Vontaze Burfict hit, which knocked him out. And that was a nasty hit. I was not on board with him with everything that was going on being related to that.
By the way, probably the most brutal hit I've ever seen in the NFL.
It was really bad. I put it up there with Jack Tatum. I think he broke somebody's neck back in the 70s. That, like, monster hits. Very bad. Very, very bad. But I wasn't on board with the idea of him being so erratic because of the CTE that he most definitely got after that hit and after the multitude of years he's gotten playing football, because I'm sure that's not the first big hit he's gotten in his career. But as time has gone on, his behavior is so erratic, and it's so different than when it was prior to the hit in Pittsburgh. Because, not a lot of people know, I'm a Steelers fan, sort of. I follow the Steelers. I still, like the Lions and
Jimmy,
I root for different players.
Hey, by the way, hey, love.
Yeah?
Give me about 60 more seconds. Keep going.
Yeah. But his behavior was so erratic. He'd be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going into the NFL. We're going to have a meeting. We're going to talk about everything that's going on. And I thought to myself, all right, well, that'll be the end of it. And then the next day, he's like, I retire. I'm out of here. I don't need the NFL. The NFL needs me, and all this other kind of stuff. And then it's just escalating to the point to where he's at now, which is he's out on $100,000 bail. He can't leave the country because they consider him a flight risk. And thank goodness he's going to go through these psych evals, because that guy needs some help. He is one of the best wide receiver talents in the past 10 years. considering how low of a draft pick he was. I believe he was a 6th-round draft pick to one of the best, to the leading wide receiver in the league for a couple of years in yards. And it's really sad. And I could sit here and say, yeah, screw that guy because, he's been talking crap about Ben Roethlisberger, whatever. I don't care about that. It's just looking at him as a human now. As a human, with somebody with a talent like his, with kids. The dude has kids. I think about his kids and his family. And I go, man, he needs help. Plain and simple. That's it.
That's it.
That's all I got. I don't have a rant. I told you I'm not a rant.
That's not a rant. I mean, that was about the biggest rant I've ever had. So I'm gonna get on a rant. It's a rant. It's not a rant. And kind of most important thing ever. I've had a hard time today. I've had it hard today with the Kobe Bryant passing. This man, I'm about to be 35 years old. I specifically remember exactly where I was when Kobe Bryant hit 81. I remember where he was and where I was when he hit his last game, hitting 60, which is absurd. I remember where I was when he got drafted. He is, I think, what I told my wife today, I think why this hits so incredibly hard for me, and I've been at it all day, it's a thing of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, these guys, they're iconic. They are legendary. They will never be forgotten. And we lost one today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it hits hard. And
I'd say so. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
but
go.
I'd say some people throw the term legend around a little too easily sometimes. There's no doubt in my mind the term legend was befitting of him.
Oh no, yeah. You talk legend. Kobe Bryant is. There'll never be a question. Kobe Bryant will always be one of the top 3 basketball players ever argued. And this is where y'all love y'all, and I am an asshole. And I'm gonna get into it. The big thing about Kobe Bryant is makes you realize what you have and what you don't have. And I will tell you, I miss Kobe Bryant already. I do. He was fantastic to the game. He was fantastic to the game of basketball. I will tell you, my family, I love you. I always do love you. My wife and my kid, I love you. Jimmy Irwin, love you. You're the closest thing to a brother I've ever had.
Love you too, brother.
Ryan Ramsar, love you to death. Jason Delmore, love you to death. I love you guys. And that's the big thing about this Kobe Bryant thing. And I hate to end it on the sad shit, but it's one of those things of when we've lost a legend,
Mm-hmm.
and it's super sad. And I remember everything that man did for me as a basketball fan. Like, I grew up watching Kobe. And the fun thing is, well, like I say, it's fun, but it's not fun because he passed away today. But last night we bought my son an Arby's sandwich, and sandwich got eaten. The freaking foil got crumpled up, and my wife threw it towards the trash can. And what did she say?
Kobe.
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 Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we'll I don't know.
It's so sudden. I think that's why it's hitting so hard. It's just because all of a sudden, last night LeBron passed him on all-time scoring, and everybody was talking about his career and how great of a career he had. And then this morning,
and Kobe even
all of a sudden
he commented about it, like he was there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I feel hard about it is like this man. Like, well, I don't know. Like, you're a baseball dude, so I don't know. Like, it's like shit. I don't even know what would the equivalent be for me losing Kobe to you.
To me, in the baseball world,
Yeah.
well, it's happened a couple times. You know, Tony Gwynn dying.
Okay. Again, we're talking Tony Gwynn to Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Like, what's the equivalent of the third best basketball player of all time?
I don't know, maybe Mike Trout.
I mean, even then,
But even then, like
you talking about like Jeter?
an influence on baseball. Jeter. Yeah, Jeter. I'd say Jeter.
Yeah, if Jeter got in a helicopter crash.
Mariano.
Oh yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's bad, and I mean, we're gonna end this, but I mean, Jim told me he's gonna give me this last bit, and I have a hard time with this. He is a man that I've watched for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Not just you, man.
Yeah,
the world. The world
the,
watched him, man.
Yeah, the world watched him. I mean, we beat Iverson. We saw him team up with the big man of Shaq and won 5 championships. He's arguably the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having just to open it up to you at the goddamn podcast. I'm having a very hard time saying goodbye to Kobe Bryant.
It's a tough one. It's just so, my heart breaks for his family.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's where it's hitting me because, I'm not a basketball guy, so his influence isn't as strong when it comes down to his influence on the game, even though I know how influential he was on the game of basketball overall.
Yeah.
But, the whole situation is tragic. Not only losing a basketball icon, legend, arguably the greatest, one of the greatest of all time. Yeah. And just the whole situation is horrible.
Right. And Yeah. Yeah.
I would say use it as an opportunity like you did before. You said you threw out all your loves, you threw out all your heart to everybody that you love, all the people that you consider to be family. And say, if you've got an opportunity to hug your family, to tell them that you love them, do it. Because life is very precious. And it could be gone a minute from now. It could be gone 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. You never know. You know, you want to make sure that you leave a lasting impression on the ones that you love and let them know, hey, I love you. And I think that that'll probably help. I mean, I know that before he left his house this morning that he told every single person in that house that was staying behind, I love you. Because he was such a family man, you know. And it stinks. So, you know, hug your loved ones. Tell them how you feel. Don't be afraid. Ross, you there? I think I lost you. Yeah, I think I lost Ross. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off then. You're probably... I can't hear you, Ross, if you are still talking. I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for tuning in. Look us up, boom_buck at Twitter. Our YouTube account, just go to YouTube, look up Boom and Buck Podcast. You can find us. Spotify, Stitcher Radio, we're everywhere. So I'll go ahead and I'll be posting this up later, and an update on Facebook and on Twitter if you follow us. And we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. Bye.